This is how I took a Lego kit for a BMW M1000RR and changed it to make it look just like my customized S1000RR. I bought this BMW motorcycle Lego kit to give myself something to do recovering from heart surgery. It's actually for the M1000RR, so you can see it's got the white panels with kind of red, white, and blue graphics. So I thought while I'm doing this, why not make it a little bit more close to what I actually ride. So here's the changes I made to the model as it is to make it more like my actual S1K. And to do this, I bought some carbon fiber vinyl wrap, some different testers model paints, and paint brushes. There's still quite a few parts outstanding, but I've made pretty good progress. Here's the wheel assembly, it's the other one, front forks, and then the bulk of it. This is the actual bike assembly. You can see it comes off that stand. And this is kind of a look at what the structure of it is so far. You can see even the gold chain, sprocket, rotor back there, swing arm. The level of detail in this is pretty amazing. You can see that by rotating the chain and sprocket on the back, if you look up to the front, you can see all the gears turning in the transmission case in there. And if you look closely, those yellow pistons coming up as you go. This is an I4 cylinder configuration, and it's just another view. You can see those pistons popping up. My bike has a much more simplified, now that I put the Acura full titanium system on, so a more accurate design would just be a single pipe that comes back to the exhaust can, but I'm obviously not going to redesign the entire Lego model, just trying to stick with the more cosmetic items. And this is about as far as I could get before I have to start actually modifying the parts with paint or wrap to make it look more like mine. The first one being the blue rear caliper, which on my bike is black. Now I have a nice black caliper instead of a blue one there. Now the swing arm on my bike is actually a polished aluminum. This is just gray, but you have other things like rotors and sprockets that are more of a polished look on the real bike. So I just left that gray. I did cut the sticker off here, so it would not include the BMW M1000RR logo. Instead, it just has the kind of blackout look for that centerpiece to mimic what the actual swing arm looks like. I'll start with the gold paint, and the only thing that needs to be gold that's not is these dark silver forks. I've already put the Olins on my S1K, so I'm going to go ahead and do those in gold. I will leave the bottom one silver. Now while the gold front forks are drying, I'm going to attempt to paint this rear shock spring yellow. The trick is that it's going to be very hard to get it completely yellow without getting yellow on the parts inside of it. I also put a little oval of it on both sides of both wheels so I can kind of mimic the BST logo like on the real bike. Now you can see the yellow coil spring right in there in the rear shock. The gold forks are in place. The suspension is actually functional. It's a working shock, and the front ones, they actually work too. Front wheel in place. Next will be the brake calipers, and they're the M blue. So I'm going to paint those parts black before I put them all together. All right, just painted the caliper parts for the front brakes in black. The original 2010 BMW S1000RR were gold calipers, but I've since replaced them with monoblock Brembos that are black, so I'm painting them to match that. Now we have gold forks with black front calipers, black rear caliper, and the yellow rear spring. What I've been doing is trying to build the subassemblies, laid out these, which don't have to be painted at all or anything. These are the tank parts that are going to go across here, so I know that all these need to be painted silver. So I've got those broke out. I can do that now. Now while the silver paint's drying, these white parts that go on the back, the tail section, those I'm going to wrap with carbon fiber vinyl wrap. Now the pattern will be a little bit bigger than what we'd want for a bike at that scale, but it'll be the closest thing to getting as realistic a look to my bike as I can. And I cut out a piece just a little bit bigger than the first part I'm going to try to wrap. First thing is to peel the back off. Now we just want to cut it all flush on the bottom. There's the first vinyl wrapped part. There's the next piece, and you can see I made a cutout in there for that so that the vinyl doesn't jack with the ability to put that piece on. The silver tank parts are starting to come together. That's looking good. And then there's some black kind of carbon fiber and stuff that's just part of the kit. The vinyl wrap part of the tail section looks good, but you can see on the edges it's white and on the underneath a little bit. So I'm just going to get the black model paint out and touch that up so it looks a little bit cleaner. While I've got the black paint out, the foot controls are silver on this one. I've changed mine to the attack rear set, so those need to be black as well. So I'll just go ahead and do those while I'm at it. Now the tail section looks better, that the white accents have been blacked out, and the foot controls are now all black like they should be. Now the actual bike has a carbon fiber tank cover, so I took that silver tank top, not tank top like a shirt, gas tank top, and put some carbon fiber wrap on the front, as well as wrapped the front of the silver on the tank here. So now when I put it together, it'll be more realistic to the silver tank with the carbon fiber tank cover. One big difference is that the M1000RR has the headlights sort of tucked down inside at the bottom, and you can see these clear lenses where those would go. So I'm going to cover those with the black carbon fiber vinyl wrap and somehow make the headlights up higher where they are on my actual bike. There we go. Now the quote-unquote headlights from before are carbon fiber wrapped, so it'll blend in more with the body parts. This is the windscreen on the front fairing pieces from the factory with the white and the red and blue accents. It's got to go on that piece. The first thing I do in vinyl wrapping is cut a piece, a little bit bigger than the actual part I'm going to wrap. Once I have the backing off, I lay the piece kind of in the center, lay it down, rock it back and forth. And then I'm basically taking the razors and just cutting the edges where I want them. But for say something like this edge, I'll cut it a little bit differently because I want to wrap it up around. You're not going to get it completely vinyl wrapped, and I'm still going to have to touch up with black paint, but I'm trying to get the bulk of it I can with the wrap. And there's that piece. As I'm starting to get these black panels ready that go at the bottom of the bike, even though they're already black, I want them to be carbon fiber because that's how the actual bike is. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap them as well. They won't need the touch up because they're black on the backside. These individual pieces, as I start getting them ready to assemble. You can see how much the carbon fiber dresses up the black parts. Front fender in place with all the parts carbon fiber wrapped. Carbon fiber wrapped headlight housing, front fairing, whatever you want to call it, and windscreen. Even the little rear stand is somewhat functional. It's got rubber tires on a wheel and they move. The new M model has those carbon winglets on it. So for the assembly where the carbon winglets are included, I had to kind of reverse out those pieces and remove them so that I ended up with just the structures for the panels. You can see that upper fairing piece in place, and again, no winglets to match my bike. Carbon fiber on the headlight housing and the upper fairing and onto the lower fairing, and all that carbon fiber kind of coming together. Parts are all assembled. Definitely has more of a realistic look with the carbon fiber wrap everywhere and all the parts painted black where they needed to be. So the only thing I'm waiting on now is a few more custom paints to just do a little bit more detail work on it to make it look like the real thing. Now I want to add the German flag strips down here in vinyl to the bike to match the original. Starting with 2 full width chunks of red, which is the middle color, and then I'll come across the top with a strip of black, bottom with a strip of yellow. It's all going to be tapered like on the actual bike, and then I'll chop it down to size. There's the layered strips. Now I'm going to cut them down into one tapered size for each side, and obviously two different sides means you got to make them a mirror so that the black, red, yellow is still the same pattern top to bottom. There's the two layered strips, and now I need to cut the axe logo out of this to match the original. And there's the German flag vinyl strips on both sides. And while I'm down here, branded. The Legos won't actually show this level of detail with the way they're structured, but on my bike, we have what's kind of a trademark of the S1K are those gills that you see on this side, the one big triangle you'd see on this side. So I'm going to try to recreate that with black vinyl and see if I can achieve kind of that recognizable look. Granted, it's a little hard to see, and I'll probably be the only one that ever knows it's there, but you can see the three slits in there to form the gills on the right side, the triangle on the left side. This little clear piece of plastic is supposed to represent the oil fill level, and it goes right here according to the model, but that's because they changed it from my model, which has it down here on this side. So I'm going to put it down here, and now you can see it's got an oil fill lens closer to where it is on the actual bike. The next thing I'm going to do is put the more accurate headlights on. Remember, the kit came with them down here. I've covered that area up with the carbon fiber wrap. So I'm going to take some white vinyl and put the round headlight and the more trapezoidal one over here. And while I've got the white vinyl wrap out, I'm also going to use it to start making the dash display. There's the two headlights in white vinyl. There's the more accurate lopsided headlights, and a little piece of red vinyl for a tail light. Since these are all fancy digital gauge displays from the M bike, they wouldn't be suitable for mine. So there's just kind of a simple rendition of what my gauge would look like on this bike model. The headlights are a little bit blah, being just solid white. I'm just gonna throw a little bit of silver in there just to give them some dimension. There, now they kind of have a little bit more of a look, just a little bit of texture to them to liven them up from the plain white. Now, since my bike doesn't have the little BMW badge there anymore, they have the chrome axe, I'm going to try to paint on sort of an axe looking logo with the silver paint. It's kind of an axe shape with what I have to work with here. I've got Brembo painted on the front calipers. I've got the little Brembo B on the rear caliper. I've got the BST in red on the yellow logo on the wheels. Silver tank. Carbon fiber wrapped panels, gills in the side, the axe with the S1K and the no limits, no regrets, German flag graphics down at the bottom, old 2010 style headlights, oil sight glass on the left side of the bike, foot controls painted black to match the attack rear sets, gold forks, black calipers with Brembo logos, yellow Öhlins rear shock spring, and the Lego kit is done. Even down to the little painted details on it to kind of make graphically looking like my actual S1000RR bike.
Subscribe to my YouTube channel below and let's celebrate turning fuel and air into adrenaline.